Say what you want, but anyway, but it's not
No,
just
I
particularly
understand.
marriage; it's relational issues. Is what the statistic was, not necessarily marriage, but it was relational issues.
Yes, I would say with that, it comes back to two things. For like a man and then for a woman, does she do her role? Because masculinity and femininity complement each other. The only issue is when you push too far. When a man uses his aggression not to protect people but to hurt others. When he uses it as a means of control, that's where the issues comes in. So like we see people, they want to fight over nothing. They want to sit there and hurt their woman. They sit there and they beat on them. All that. That's not what you should be doing. The same way.
True, but the question is though, like, what are these roles that you're talking about? What what is the what's the reference point for those roles?
I would say it comes back to our biological standpoints and how advantageous things are. These were the natural consequences. That's why we see like all across the world. You can go to like Vietnam, go to India, go to the Middle East, go to North Africa. The men are going to typically be the hunters and gatherers, and the women are going to be the nurturers and caretakers because biologically you're pushed towards more that role. Men have more upper body strength, more endurance. They're going to have more success when they do these things. Women, the other way around.
I think that's all right. So there's truth to what you're saying, no doubt about it, right? But I think that's a oversimplified view to take. You know,
Well, which society didn't have that propensity?
well, there are societies where women's like physical developments like are on par with men, if not sometimes greater than men's. If you think about like some West African tribes, you think about some Maori or Polynesian tribes,
Yes, but even
the
those
the
were very
French,
isolated cases.
Scandinavians, or even in Europe, there are various different places or ethnicities where the women's like biological makeup is basically on par with men's, or any men from our society, put it that way, or surpass them. Right? So
I would say with that, yes, there were some French cases where that existed, but they were never pushed to the absolute limit. They might have participated in some things that men did, but they weren't at the front of battles. They weren't the ones living in the trenches. They weren't the ones going there doing special operations. They might have contributed, but they weren't the spear front.
yeah, so again, there is truth to what you're saying, but I think a lot of that is just like it's just old stereotypical thinking. It's not actually a matter of fact. Put it this way, right? What determines biological realities has a lot to do with the environments and mating pressures. We study tribes from an anthropological point of view. The mating selection process and the environment determines the type of bodies that men are going to gravitate towards and women are going to gravitate towards, which also determines in a kind of like pseudo eugenics way what type of humans would be produced. So
Yes, but with that,
if you think about the context of Europe and the type of mate choices which were preferenced in the last couple of centuries, one could argue that men have like genetically bred women to appear biologically inferior, but they're not necessarily.
well, no, because we see all across the world, we still see the same pattern. It's not going to be because of the way Europeans bred, but with that too, we would see there's a lot of reasons why we separated the men and the woman. There's always a reason we don't like a 100-pound UFC fighter, like a 120-pound UFC fighter who's a man going against a woman. It's not going to be fair. That's why we don't do that. So, because look at the
Again,
structure
I
and the
think I think
anatomy.
that's contextual, right? But I understand what you're saying. There's some truth to it, but I think that's contextual again because
Well, yeah,
fighting
they showed out.
fighting is about skill and it's also about luck and it's also about weight. So
Yeah,
there's context applied to that. But anyways, like before we get too like lost on like this gender versus that gender kind of shit, like
yeah.
what is your like if you had to summarize your view on masculinity and why it's not toxic? I'd like to hear that.
Oh, yes, because masculinity exemplifies the positive traits in a man, while toxic masculinity takes those traits and turns them inward. It would be like if I gave you a baton and you use it to protect people from wolves, or turning around and hitting people with it to control them. It's the
Okay.
same baton, but what you use it for is different.
So give an example then of what toxic masculinity is.
Yeah, a guy comes home and his wife disagrees with him, so instead of listening, trying to negotiate or understand, he hits her and she shuts up. They both got the same results, negotiating and talking, she agreed, or hitting her, she also quote unquote agrees. Both of them got the result you wanted, but one was done through harmful measure.
But one might argue that's not necessarily an exclusive masculinity thing or a male thing in that
When
scenario.
you look at DV rates, it is predominantly done with like physical
True,
violence,
no, no,
emotional violence.
that is true too. But to say that a man's ability to use violence to get what he wants is inherently tied to his manhood is not necessarily true, because women also do that. So
Yes, we can look at people like Saint Olga of Kiev, who was a very violent monarch, but it's still going to be they're not the norm. So you can still say they exist, outliers do exist, not binary like function, but probability wise, it's going to be predominantly men. Like same way, 98% of violent crimes are done by men. it doesn't mean that women can't do violent crimes, just predominantly men are.
Yeah, in our society and the context that we have, this is a fact. But again, I tend to take these things as structural issues and not necessarily biological realities.
Well, biologically, we kind of biology disagrees with them. That we look at bone structure, anatomy, how both boys and girls develop through puberty, and what
This is
things
true.
get exemplified.
This is true, but also to the point I just said, bro. Environmental pressures, mating selection, evolution, essentially, can steer that trajectory of biological realities, which is also a structural thing.
Well, you have to prove that right there, where mating selection and biological properties can be changed through different types of mating, and then you have to cross-reference that to the norm.
So, what is the norm? From what I understand, what we use as a norm is a Western standard. It's not accounted for all cultures in all countries and all environments, is it?
Yeah, I would say, well, because that's also where a lot of the science came from. A lot of science that we built on came from Western societies because that's where a lot of the science and innovation came from. So when we look at places like England,
So,
France, yeah, I would say when it comes to like English history, yeah, we got things like stethoscope. A lot of stuff came from the West. It's not saying that the other places were incapable of developing. They had other issues, like they were colonized, they were at war. There's other reasons that their own stuff going on.
yes, this is true, but what I was pointing to is the reality of mate selection and environmental pressures. I think evolution shows us that to be the case.
Where would
So
we see that in
if
evolution?
if the environment, for instance, an example like the Huns, or I think they call them the Huns, or the ancestors of the Huns, in the environment where they live, it's mostly plains and mountains, and it's quite cold, right? So their like dietary regimen is geared around procuring more fatty foods. So like in the morning they'll eat massively rich foods with lots of fat in them. Because of the environment, it determines the diet and it also determines their genetics. So a majority of them are significantly larger than anyone you'd find in the West. The same could be said about people like Polynesian people in other areas. Or another
Yes,
example
that
of
is
this,
true.
how like people socially engineer genetics, right? And this is like kind of a, not necessarily the best example, but it's kind of there as well. In some places in China, you get things like foot binding, that they do to their children, right?
Yes.
This has a genetic outcome down the line as well. Some places in Africa, you get like neck elongation, head elongation, and this accounts
Yes.
for genetic variation as well. But like I said, right, there's truth to what you're saying. From the standard, yes, men would appear to be biologically stronger in terms of bone density and these kinds of things. But I would also count that as a structural thing, not necessarily a biological reality. But that's just an opinion, not a fact. Okay?
No, you're good with that. And with that, I would agree if we're taking it and comparing to Western society. But if we took the same males and developed them in the same conditions, again, they would still come out to be biologically stronger. Not because of anything else, but one put under the same conditions, the biology just wins in the sense of bone structure, mass, upper body development. Even if other conditions made adaptation more favorable to those, when you put a man in the same conditions, that's when they're going to succeed.
I think again, I do think there's truth to what you're saying. Don't get me wrong, but still, I think I just try not to put it this way, unless I can say with certainty that that is the case in all circumstances. I won't hold it to be a fact. I would just take it as a thing that we think currently. Does that make sense? Oh, bro, drop down. Anyways, feel free to request that. Don't really know what's going on with the stream, whether it's technical difficulties or something else. But there you go. But we never really got to the toxic masculinity bit. What's up? What's up, Cookie? What's up, Almond? Chris, I think that is some truth to it as well. It's the context of the context of views like toxic masculinity have changed over time as well. Well, I actually don't know yet. Let's see what we got. Let's give it a few more minutes. We may have to reboot. What's up, Mr. Yo-Yo? Who the hell is this guy, bro? Huh. Right, so yeah. Alright, I think that's for the best. Let's do it now. 24 minutes is more than enough to test it. Yep. Alright, now I need to do a real audio check because last time something else could have happened. Am I live or not? Anyways. True strength lies in your head. I'm in agreement with that to an extent. I think ideal strength is relative. I think mental strength is far superior to physical strength. Or the same. You know the old saying, strong rule the weak, but the wise rule the strong. So something to be said for that too. He's gonna hit me through the tree. There it is. Oh. It's up in the hill. I ain't got hell divers, bro. I would gladly, but I haven't got it. I think hell divers is also it's actually I would actually like to play hell divers. It's built on the same engine as Metal Gear Solid 5, so I'd probably like it. What games do you have, bro? Nah, well, I'm not from China, but everything's made in China, so technically, I guess you could say, which one did you get? 1 or 2, or is there 2? John Nolan, you seem to be obsessed with strange things. I might argue it's a bit of a projection on your part. Yeet. Is that true? Alright. Slap down. Yeah, maybe sometime. You know what? Actually, saying that, I've just seen a video that PlayStation 6 has been released for Christmas, so there may not even be any point, which has kind of pissed me off. I could have just waited to get it. John Nolan, why don't you come over to TikTok and speak from your voice instead of behind your keyboard? I know you admire me. I know you'd like to be as masculine as me, probably. You'd like to have some BO, possibly. I know, yeah, but it's just not working out for you where you are. I have got a job. What are you talking? What is your job? Let's talk about it. Are you like a warehouse worker or something? Are you disgruntled? Let's talk about that. What's your job? Yeah, same deal. Same. Exactly. And my teeth are straight. You're mad at like you're vexed. Probably a basement dweller. Like I was just talking to someone on YouTube now, alright? He's spamming in the comments. So first he was upset, like basically just saying a bunch of what do they call it? Homophobic comments. And now he's just like completely pivoted to get a job, get a job. He's not talking about my tooth, right? This guy is projection maxing. Alright, now Johan now, or John, tell us something positive about your life. Just one thing, if you can. Pinky Durka. What's up, bro? Cooked. You saying? Oh, there you go. Right. So look, I'm making your life better. Giving you something to aspire to. You should be thanking me. Am I a communist? No, right. Nihil, come up. Explain to me what it entails to be a communist and why I should be one. I don't consider myself a communist. No, I'm dubious about attaching myself to any types of factions. To be honest with you. TikTok told me to tell you to share the video, so please share the video. All right, let's test the request box. Nah, I don't even know what BG3 is, bro. Yo, I want to tell you, my dad is Chinese. Big up to your dad, bro. Hello? What's up, bro?
No, yeah. I don't think masculinity is not toxic, yeah.
Wait, say that again.
So masculinity is not toxic.
You think it's not toxic?
Yeah.
Cool. Why?
Why?
Mm.
Because just being ourselves, bro. Because as a masculine man myself, yeah.
Do you get to say that? but do you actually get to say that, though? Without being like, oh, but cringe.
No, I don't think masculinity is toxic. I think it's what people have changed it into nowadays. Like they've like changed the actual meaning of masculinity into something toxic. But in actual meaning, it's not actually toxic. Just like what these people are doing now, like what's that black guy? You know the black guy with like the short hair? And he does podcasts with the ladies. I forgot
Bro,
what his
that
name is.
could be anybody. Do you know how many?
No, it's one
Do you
guy.
know how many people in the world I'm sure hair and
Nah,
like
but
black?
he's actually quite famous. He's like really famous.
Nah, I have no idea, bro. You have to give me a reference for that.
I do think masculinity is toxic.
Right. So why?
I said, do you think it's toxic?
Do I think it is? Well, from my point of view, no, right? But I can see how maybe from a woman's point of view it is, or perhaps for men on the lower rungs of hierarchies, you might think that too.
No, I think feminism is toxic. That's what I think.
Give me a reasons why.
Alright, hear me out, yeah. I mean, the actual definition from feminism is for women to get the same standards as men, yeah. But in this day and age, yeah.
Hold up, 1 sec.
You know where that's supposed bed.
Yo.
And as I said, the actual meaning of feminism is not toxic whatsoever. It's like to put the same standard of women and men to be equal. But in this day and age, yeah, women have like changed the meaning into like, oh, women are better than men and they don't need men in their world, yeah. That's what it's turned into today. So if you really think about it, kind of is toxic because they basically changed the meaning of what it actually was.
I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily feminism. What you might be pointing to is more what's described as misandry. But I can see how that's easy to mix them up.
Super feminist. That's literally what they're called, a super feminist.
What is that then?
Can you name any feminists? But high set, by the way.
What's up, bro?
Can you name any feminist authors?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I don't even read books, and I can name one.
Go on.
J.K. Rowling.
Oh, oh shit.
No, I mean like feminism's a theory, right? It's a political theory. So I just wanted to know if you could name one feminist and then like what their theory, what did they add to feminism and things like that.
What did they add to feminism?
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like you don't really know what feminism is.
No, I'm saying what they've changed it into.
Do you know what,
today.
Neil? I would say I don't even have a full understanding of feminism either. I probably have a very surface level understanding.
I'm just saying.
It's a deep topic, to be honest.
I've seen multiple videos, yeah. I'm not saying that all right and stuff, yeah. Of how what women try to say what feminism is
From
themselves.
Red Pill
yeah.
podcasters.
Yeah, basically.
Alright, do you think that's the best place to get information on like an academic theory?
I said
Oh, definitely not.
that's not what feminism originally was. that they basically.
All right, but I'm just going on what you're saying, right? You said you've watched this Red Pill podcast. They've given you an idea of feminism, and then when I've given you like one basic question of like naming a single feminist, you can't do it. So it seems like
He
you've got
technically
an
did.
idea of
He
what.
technically did that.
J.K. Rowling's not a feminist.
Technically,
she
she's
might
like a turf or something like that. Is that what they call it?
Okay.
What about the
okay.
suffragettes?
Suffragettes, yeah.
Technically.
Yeah, does that not count? Does that not count? Or
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like that's a very surface level understanding of it, right?
alright, Emma Watson, she's a feminist.
These are you just
What about Harry
naming
Potter guys?
celebrities, right?
Oh, such first of all, she's an actor, yeah, and she's like very high in there for feminism. She's literally a feminist.
High in feminism. Is there like a
So,
council of
that's the wrong word,
feminists
sorry.
that
No,
like?
I'll search up right now.
No, but all I'm saying, I'm not trying to clown you or anything. I'm literally just saying because every time I hear an anti-feminist argument, I hear the same thing over and over again, and really it's like an anti-SJW meme, isn't it? That's what you mean when you say feminist. You mean like annoying blue-haired liberals on the internet that like say embarrassing
that's not what I was
things or
saying.
say cringe things.
I was saying that feminism is the belief that all people, regardless of gender, deserve equal rights. I'm saying what they've changed the meaning into in this day and age. It's what they've changed it into today, but the actual meaning is not what they think it is.
It's just man. You just think it's man hate now.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
That's misandry.
Because
it's not feminism.
I'm not an expert on feminism, but like the only feminist, or one of the only feminists I know, Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks is like explicitly about has books written about men, about how men like engage with things like love or relationships or what males' role in society is. Like part of feminism is understanding males' role in society, because how can you understand what you don't have access to if you can't first understand that thing, right?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No, not really.
You're right, sir. Anyway,
Yeah, good for how you.
I'm good, man.
It's probably a bad topic to pick, wasn't it?
Well, I hear these things a lot. I think it's a thought-cancelling cliche that's spread by red pill podcast types.
What is red pill? What is red pill?
Like it's like incel adjacent, isn't it? It's
I
what
only
is
know
it?
what a black pill is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, red pill is like sold as the positive black pill, isn't it? So it's like you could have all these incels that are just in a pit, and then red pill says, oh no, actually learn game, learn all these things, and then you'll be a better man, you'll get relationships and stuff. But then you actually look at a lot of the content and it's just misogyny and like
the
women
podcast
hate.
will do. It's actually so wrong. Like,
Sorry?
like most male like podcasters, it's saying how to get women and stuff. Yeah, they're completely wrong in my opinion. Like the way they treat women is awful, and I don't believe in it at all.
Yeah, I agree. But
Yeah.
the worst thing is when like young guys copy these cliches, and then you see them interacting in the world, and they're just absolutely making a dog's dinner of it.
Yeah.
But you could also argue, right? Initially, the view on red pill was something. It was like more like a philosophical science pulled out of the matrix that got basically hijacked by misogynist groups. You could say.
Yeah.
It's just like the idea of woke
I'm pretty sure
was hijacked in the same kind of way.
Yeah. It's all this like MAGA stuff at the minute. You've got to think of it as like it's the right-wing version of the 60s, like hippies. Like that's what they're doing. They're trying to create like the equivalent of a hippie movement where everyone has this quick cultural shift into like a kind of, and like adopts new frameworks on how to see the world. That's all what these like red pill things do. It's all about framing every single part of, like this guy's just come up and framed feminism. And they have that for everything. They'll have it on liberals and and the left in general and feminism and all these other things. And it's a way to kind of inoculate people against left-wing education and from my point of view, because if you just have this surface level version of things like feminism, you're never going to seriously engage with it.
True. This is true. But then the question comes up, which is something I want to have a show up of at some point, right? What is the left's response to the manosphere? Right? What is their version of it, or
Yeah, but you have to think of what the manosphere is, right? It's like they'll all be like. Have you seen a Tucker Carlson podcast?
Nah, not all the way through. Maybe a clip here or there.
But like even that in existence, right? Here's like someone who was the most famous Fox News anchor for like the most famous anchor of the most famous right-wing American TV news network. And now he presents himself as like, yo bros, let's all just sit down and have this chill conversation. Like, I'm just one of the frat guys, like, come on. And that's how all this new media is happening. So it's a corporate media landscape that presents itself as like genuine and grassroots. So you say like, what's the left equivalent of that? Like, it's difficult because does the left want that? The left's gonna. There are like small left-wing podcast, or like podcasts or YouTube shows or whatever, but like, they're just not known because they don't have corporate backing. They don't have all the infrastructure around.
I think that's true, but I meant more in relation to how the manosphere like is basically grooming men into a certain view of the world. You could say like what was considered bread tube at a certain point was almost that space, but they never managed to take men specifically, men and boys specifically, and steer them in a certain direction. If that makes sense, or at least from my view.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what unions used to do.
Who?
And like work trade unions.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think things like that are probably the left-wing equivalent, but it's difficult because that's not.
Yeah, but unions are also
culture-based.
captured now, aren't they? Well, for a long time they have been.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, there's still a lot of radical unions about. But the point I've made of that is like someone being part of a union then like develops them and them like maybe like going on strike so they can get higher wages and things like that. That changes people, and that's what left-wing organizations in the past were doing, and that's why so many people stayed leftist later on in life, because they brought material changes and then people were part of this broader political tradition. But that's all gone now. So the left is basically now having to recreate itself, which means there needs to be more thought leaders and things like that to try and form something. Because at the minute it just doesn't really exist, I don't think.
So would you say like the right is kind of winning ideologically, at least on the media front?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you have to think like right-wingers complain about left-wing people on television and the media and stuff, but most of those people, when you actually look at them, they're like centrist liberals. Like you don't see a lot of like hardline communists on mainstream TV like spreading their views as much as you see people, like two of the main right-wing parties in this are like pretty far right at this point, don't they? But try and get Labour Party to talk about something like a rent cap, some kind of like radical wealth distribution, they won't do it. So it's a weird thing where like the left is kind of afraid to go left, but the right are quite happy to just
keep
empowered. Yeah, and it's this like, well, earlier you said like why use the term socialist or communist? I think like part of that is the point. Like one thing I saw recently was how far right people, they use racism and like shocking language as a weapon against people that they disagree with. So like they hate liberals. They know that if they use hurtful words against a liberal, the liberal will freak out. And so that's why they use racism and all these other things. And so you have to think like, what's the left-wing equivalent of that? Well, it would be some kind of like, I mean, historically, it would be like militant trade unions. It'd be like something like Cable Street. It would be.
I don't know what that is. I don't have context for that.
You don't know Cable Street? Mm-hmm. So that's when. Do you know who Mosley is?
No.
So Mosley was the founder of the British Union of Fascists, and there was a very it's famous in left-wing history anyway. He marched through a Jewish area in London as like a kind of provocation. Fascists do this a lot. This is why you have to like pay attention to these Unite the Kingdom marches and things. Like when the first fascist government started, because Mussolini marched into Rome with a massive army of fascists, and the liberal government just gave up and let the fascists take over parliament. So that's why they're always marching. Anyway, Oswald Mosley went through this area in London, tried to do this march, and all the trade unions came out, communists and socialists and everyone else, and blocked the path and blocked the road and prevented the fascists from marching. And it's just become that's kind of why you see a lot of these counter protests happening now. It's because people see it as carrying on the anti-fascist tradition. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other examples, but yeah. But things like that would be like, imagine the organization for that. You have to gather people, you have to bring them against this common cause that unites people. It creates like some form of solidarity and all those kind of things. I think sometimes we think, like, we see a lot of this far right content online and we go, oh, why can't we copy them or mimic them? But really what happens is like, people have to put their smartphones down and go outside and actually organize, like do things in real life, like actually create physical organizations, not just a bunch of people tweeting things, right?
But this is classically true, but not necessarily true in our current climate or where the future is going.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely use the internet, but I think these things obviously distract us. They kind of hypnotize us a little bit. I think sometimes people, I've seen it before, where people get too obsessed with social media and then the whole thing becomes social media, and then you only have a movement in theory. I think until you can call up your local comrades and people will turn up and support you, and like there will actually be that network there, nothing will ever change. And like a lot of this like far right stuff as well, it's meant to kind of create this sense of hopelessness in people that are opposed to it. And so like there's this double motivation that's kind of needed now, where we need that stuff anyway, but now the choice is maybe not socialism, but some kind of left liberalism or fascism. Like, that's our options at this point. But then again, I don't see a lot of people mobilizing, so maybe that's just inevitable.
In what way do you mean?
There's just not a... usually there's a kind of thing where some kind of force galvanizes people, and then that encourages people to come out and actually give their weekends or whatever to the movement. But I just don't see it. I think the more that the economy gets bad and people have to work more, they earn less, they struggle more, the less free time people have to devote to these kind of movements, other than like the super fanatical, which, you know, and again the far righters is on that as well.
Well, a lot of views around collectivism have kind of been dissolved anyway. A lot of people don't view themselves as part of some collective view, or even they don't even consider that their actions affect other people and other people affect them beyond their immediate kind of like knee-jerk emotions. I think that's part of it as well. It's like, what is the bigger picture that you should be looking for?
First, I mean, I think the best we can probably hope for now is either focusing on just survival, trying to survive this political turmoil, so it doesn't completely sweep over the country, or planting the seeds of something in the future. Which I know that's not the most positive message. I saw you talking to a couple of leftists the other day. There's a certain type of leftist that you'll often meet on this app that is very positive, wants you to join an organization, wants you to do all these things, read every little bit of leftist theory and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't think that's important. I think your position is a good one to be in, where you can accept ideas from all across the board, but you don't necessarily have to be a centrist again. No.
Gonna be a centrist again. No, that's fair. I'll take it.
I can't, even when I try to compliment, I can't help.
It's totally fine.
No,
It's just, I take the position that I don't know enough to be able to say one way or the other. Some critiques from both sides make sense to me, but obviously some don't as well. So I'm not studied enough to be able to say.
I watch a lot of conservative stuff. I try to read a lot of conservative. Like when Jordan Peterson was first about, I was had a hyperfixation on that and learnt a bunch about that. A load of my lefty mates were like, "Oh, why are you watching that? Or why are you reading that book?" Like, but then the years that came after it, when I'd be talking to like conservatives, and then I was able to speak on their level because I understand the kind of theory that they were basing their self off as well. I think a lot of people on the left don't do that. They don't take, sometimes as a leftist, listening to a conservative is the best thing you can do because they've got the best critiques of what you're doing.
True.
But a lot of people are just the sheep from Animal Farm, unfortunately. Like they just want to join a movement.
But you also got to remember, everyone's in their like own kind of isolated echo chamber, like with a completely like manufactured timeline of what's important or what's relevant to them.
Oh yeah.
So it
the late stage
makes
capitalism is
makes it even harder to hear opposing views. Because like if you don't know exactly what to search for, it won't show up.
It makes me like I kind of miss the early 2000s internet. I think that's what the younger generation is missing. Like the Y2K anarchist propaganda on YouTube. Oh man, peak propaganda.
I wouldn't have even saw that either.
That's what I'm saying. There's some like just from what I remember growing up, the various environmentalist movements and G20 and COP and all these things. It's mad. It all just disappeared. I don't know, like for me, I kind of thought BLM would be a little bit of a thing where it might jump off to a next stage, but I feel like that was almost like the peak of progressive politics in a way. And ever since then, it's been like a kind of high watermark, and we're slowly going back.
Well, I've heard the Americans are now like marking out like woke 1, woke 2 in terms of like that whole period of time. So
woke
I
2
don't know
just seems
what's
like
even gonna look like.
Electoralism to me. Like woke 1 was crazy. You had like anarchists on Twitter like openly plotting insurgency on government facilities and stuff. It was
idiots.
Like just as an observer, it was a crazy time to look at. But like now, it seems like I think the anarchists are just scared of like the CIA. I think that's all it is, and so they're pivoting to. They're like, oh no, I'm just a democratic socialist. It's like, okay, buddy. Like,
yeah, but you got to consider that you're only going to get one life to live. Not everyone's willing to throw shit away just ideologically.
Yeah, I know, but posers dead, isn't it?
Say again?
It's posers dead, isn't it? I mean, I'm not. I don't usually put myself forward as someone who'd be like, oh yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice for the movement or whatever. But you do get a lot of people that like the aesthetic, like revolutionary aesthetics, but like are not revolutionary in any way.
Yeah, I've always,
which I'm not either. I'm not saying
like views of revolution have always kind of got my back up a bit. Like it's not that I'm against revolution. It's just that it's this like capsulized type of. This is what it looks like to do a revolution, and one could argue if you're operating within parameters of what a revolution has to be, then you're not in a revolution. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now that is it's like Christian revelation to a lot of them. Like there's a lot of old school Marxists that are genuinely waiting for the rapture, but it's the red rapture instead, and that's how they see it.
Yeah, I guess.
But I would like what I'll say this and then I'll stop holding you live.
Bro, you're more than welcome to be up here. I love talking to you, mate. So come here anytime you want.
But anarchists, I might have said this before, but anarchists, there were two sects of leftism in the past. One was Marxist, one was anarchist. Marxists tried to build a broad party, and that's where your socialist parties like the Labour Party or the German SPD come from. And anarchists thought that they needed to have a revolution. And so 2 different views on how you get communism. And the anarchists predicted that when the Marxists tried to become elected, they would sell out the movement, because in order to get to a position of power in parliament, they would have to make concessions to the ruling class, for the ruling class to even allow them into power. And then they said that those parties, once they got power, would come to see them holding power as the revolution. And I think if you take that, I think that's one prediction that the anarchists got right when it comes to leftist theory, because that is basically what happened to all these left-wing parties. Like the SPD in Germany it was one of the first, and it was the largest Marxist political party in the world for a large time, with millions of members. Look at it now.
I don't know.
You can't. It's the most centrist dad party you've ever seen. There's nothing radical in it. That they recently passed a bunch of anti-left laws, because there's a bunch of these insurgent left groups in Germany, and the SPD were part of helping to dismantle that and things. So this is what's happened is basically these, like, the people that should be fighting for, in cliche terms, the workers, they think that them having really good political jobs is in itself helping working class people. And so, like, that's the logic behind it, and that's why they'll never be able to actually help us.
So quick question, right?
In any radical sense.
What do you think about things like what's it called, like Fabian Institute or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Fabian Society, I think that's it.
Yeah, so it's very, I think it's interesting, but at the same time, it's like I think it's a good example of electoralism and incrementalism. And look at, like, in the era where there's no smartphones, there's no internet, you could probably get away with secret societies like this. Now that we're in 2026 and it's all clip form content, oh man. I mean, have you seen these conservatives talking about the Fabian Society?
Yeah, that's the first time I heard about it. But then I found out, it was never a secret in the first place, kind of thing.
Well, the problem is that so, like, there's certain conspiracy-minded people that they'll, like, find out a real conspiracy and then they'll, like, add a bunch of things to it. I think, like, that's, like, Fabian Society is a really interesting thing to talk about and think about, and they still hold a lot of power. I mean, look at our left-wing movement in the UK compared to France and Germany. In France and Germany, they're quite militant. In the UK, we're pretty soft on most things. Even our anti-fascists are pretty soft. And you have to think, like, you know, it does kind of make sense with British culture, I guess. That's our version of socialism. Like, I don't know what you say, like repress. You could call it like repress socialism, where you want socialism but not really. I don't know.
Could say Britain as a place, as an idea, is repression itself.
Well, that's when I think of British. I think of
just
repress.
an idea.
Oh yeah, like that's the difference between us and the continentals. Like, in a continental European house party, if you pull a guitar out, you're a cool guy, and, like, everyone's like, wow, this is so cool. If you do that in a British house party, everyone just, their shoulders go up, and, like, everyone feels uncomfortable, and, you know, someone will start swearing at you eventually.
Well, yeah, so I think it's a matter of taste too, isn't it? So it really
yeah, I'm sure there's exceptions to that, but
yeah. Last question I want to ask you, right? What's your views on this whole Jason Arde thing?
On the professor guy.
That's it.
I mean, I think I don't really care about the plagiarism. Like, to me, the whole, like, the fact that he did plagiarism and he got fired, like, whatever, that just seems like a university internal problem. But, like, one thing I saw is, like, how much glee these, like, right-wing content creators have been getting of, like, continually mocking the guy. Like, they're still mocking him now.
Yeah, the comments are interesting.
But it's this double thing of, like, mocking someone and then saying that the mocking wasn't enough or wasn't an existential thing for the guy. And it's they can easily, like, these guys can hold both these ideas at the same time. But anyone that's not in the cult, I just find it very strange. Like, yeah, I don't know if that's good answer.
So what do you think about the fallout with the eugenics guy that called him out initially? Apparently, they've removed him from a university or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good book, which is by Hope Not Hate, called Year of the Rat, and in that it's a undercover journalist that like went into Britain's far right and exposed it. And one of the parts of that is they infiltrated this group with links to something called the Pioneer Fund. And the Pioneer Fund was set up by Southern Americans to basically fund race science and eugenics. And so, like, one part of this book, like a whole chapter of this book, is how the modern far right are trying to make eugenics a genuine field of study again. And like one of the parts of this is that you find a lot of people that are pro-eugenics are also upper class. So the far right are just going straight to the top of society to try and spread these ideas so that the next elite that take over will practice eugenics. So I'm not surprised by that bit of it.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, it's imagine like Palantir eugenics.
I didn't even really know about that, to be honest with you. Didn't know that.
What Palantir?
Well, I don't know. I didn't catch the Palantir thing you said, but I was just thinking more about how the far right might be operating in terms of like, you know, upper class people.
Yeah,
so I didn't even have a view
that's
on that.
pretty much it's a direct quote from one of the guys. They said they made a magazine about race science, and then the magazine is marketed specifically for the elite that will inherit the world, basically.
Insane. What was Palantir thing that you said?
Do you know Palantir, the company?
I know a little bit about them, but not like actually what they do, what they're into now.
Yeah, I mean, so the guy that I sent, David Graeber actually did a debate with one of the Palantir guys, Peter Thiel, and it's an interesting debate to watch if you're interested. But Palantir is basically Peter Thiel's security company. I mean, they've said all kinds of things about how like they want like assassination drones and things like that. Like they have these little, you can imagine like I can't say the word, but a kaboom, a small one on a drone that dive bombs people.
We've been seeing videos
like
come out of Russia and Ukraine though.
Yeah, so it's one of these companies, and weirdly, the British government gave Palantir full access to all of the
NHS.
Yeah, so these guys have got all our medical records, which is great.
About that shit.
Yeah, I mean, this next stage of capitalism is going to get dystopian. It's already pretty dystopian, but yeah, it's going to get bad. All right, anyway, I'm going to stop hogging your life.
No, it's totally fine. It's only me, you watching the stream anyway.
No, it's alright. I gotta go.
All right. No, I appreciate you, Neil. Anytime, bro.
Yeah, nice talking to you, bro.
All right, take it easy. Should we give this thing one more chance, or should we just call it a night?
I'll spam the likes for you.
Nah, it's too late for that, bro. It's too late for that. Right, let's give it a shot. Right, let's go. What I'll do is I'll remove that masculinity question because it might be considering that we're in a different type of genre of content, which we are not. This boss fight's annoying me as well. This isn't actually the right time to be streaming for me anyway, so I know roughly when to drop an algorithm, but we just deal with what we got currently until we can do what we're supposed to do. Ooh. I can't see the purple app chat. Put that down. No. Ooh. Slapped. Alright, it may be worth redoing it. Holy Lord. Hmm? Yeah. Let's have some private time. We'll come back. Maybe later, maybe not. We'll see.